What do you think of when you think of a touring bike? Something like this? BMW's R1200 RT? Or maybe even a Goldwing? Epitome of a motorcycle that's a touring bike, that is. Or possibly even this big beastie, Harley-Davidson's Electroglide. I bet you didn't think about one of these. BMW's R1200 GS, because this is, after all, an adventure bike. It's designed to do some off-roading as well. But I guarantee you didn't think of this. Triumph's Tiger 1050, styled like an adventure bike, but it's got road wheels, not meant to do any off-roading at all. Well, now there's another bike on the market that's very much like the Tiger 1050, and it comes from Kawasaki. And here it is, the 1000cc Versys. Or is it a Versys? Never mind about that, we'll discuss that in the studio later in the programme.
Officially, it's Versys, for versatile system, but I much prefer Versys, so for now, that's what I'm sticking with. It certainly looks imposing, this 1-litre adventure-styled bike, but it shouldn't look too unusual because, from the front at least, it's pretty much a replica of the Versys 650, and that's been around for a couple of years now. But even if it looks familiar, it's never going to look pretty. No bikes like this are ever very good looking, and the Versys 1000 doesn't break the mould. Comfort, practicality and versatility are obviously what this Kawasaki is about, and nothing wrong with that, but it also has one very handy trick up its sleeve, a 1-litre 4-cylinder engine. And it's a real gem of a motor, pumping out just shy of 120 horsepower in a way that makes its competition seem just a little bit tame. Serious performance obviously needs some very serious brakes. Radial calipers and Kawasaki's unique pedal discs in this case, combined with an effective ABS system. Long travel forks up front come with some basic adjustment, and the same can be said of the rear shock. No adjustment available though for either rider or pillion seats, but the riding position is nice and roomy, so no hassles there. There is some useful electronic adjustability to the traction control though, the handlebar-mounted switch swapping between some usefully different settings.
So it looks like an adventure bike, but does it ride like one? Well, yes, to a certain extent, but there are some differences, the most notable of which is the engine.
There's been loads of these adventure and touring bikes over the past few years, since everyone caught on and realised that the GS1200's combination of decent performance and excellent long-range comfort was what customers really wanted. They were all powered by a selection of 2- and 3-cylinder engines, until this year and Honda's V4 Cross Tourer arrived. Now Kawasaki has taken the next logical step and has, once again, like it did with the SX last year, used the same Z1000 engine and chassis combo to form the basis of a completely new model. The big plus with using more cylinders is that the engine gets smoother, and with such a wide spread of torque it will happily potter about so efficiently you can forget all about changing gears. But if you want to wring its neck a bit and bang away on the gearbox, it changes from a friendly tourer into a wannabe sport bike.
One thing you can always rely on with Kawasaki is to make a brilliant engine. And though this may be a tourer, it still is. It's got a huge mid-range, which is what you want for touring. And because it's a green bike, a mean green Kawasaki, it's got a fit top end as well. So don't think of this as a slow tourer. This is a tourer with some serious balls.
Be warned though, all that performance comes at the price of a raging thirst. Be gentle and the 21-litre tank might stretch to 350 k's, but play it being a superbike and you'll struggle to get past 200. A tourer has to have more than just a monster engine. It's also got to keep you relaxed and stress-free for many hours at a time.
And the Versys has got that covered too. With it being an adventure-style bike, it's obviously got a really upright riding position, and that always makes for a comfortable bike. Great seat, wide bars, so no aches and pains. Obviously you need top wind protection, and this little screen doesn't look like much, but is actually adjustable. These two little knobs on the front, and you can raise and lower it by about 4 centimetres. Doesn't sound much, but actually makes a big difference. And pillion perch, well, it's also very comfortable. My wife has spent a couple of hours here, says it's pretty good, but you'll notice there's a little bit of a step up, so Your pillion rider will be able to see over your head, which is good for the view, but means they might get a little bit of wind buffeting. And of course, with it being a touring bike, you have to carry luggage. Now, you may have thought about Kawasaki Z1000SX, a sport tourer. Maybe that could do the job for you, but no. If you want to carry luggage, panniers and a top box, well, the Versys has got kitted out with an extra strong subframe so it can take all that extra weight. Basically, set up properly to be a full touring bike.
A full touring bike that also knows how to have a little bit of fun on the side. When you've already made the brilliant SX Sport Tourer from the same Z1000 ingredients, it should come as no surprise to know that the Versys is a sweet handling bike. What does surprise me a bit is the suspension. It looks like it will be nice and soft, but somehow that's not what it feels like once the roads start getting a bit rough.
With it being an adventure-style bike, it's got this long travel suspension, which has its benefits for bumpy roads like this, in that the longer travel is going to give you a better quality ride. Whoa. But that isn't absolutely the case, to be honest. The suspension is just a bit too firm, I think, especially on the front. Quite a few knocks and jars coming through the handlebars. Look, don't get me wrong, it's not bad, but it is noticeable.
Kawasaki seems to have been keen to make sure that the Versys didn't turn into a wobbly old barge, so the forks are fine for a sporty ride on the smooth stuff, but they're a bit on the firm side for a lot of South African roads. It's worth remembering too that this bike is intended to deal with a passenger and luggage for two, so finding a compromise that can work when you're riding solo is a fine balancing act. And heading off-road is a definite no-no. With road rims and fat road rubber, a smooth gravel road is about all this Kawasaki can handle. Rather book yourself a hotel that's got a paved driveway. Leave this kind of stuff to the proper adventure bikes, which can handle some dirt, but, by the same token, are also more compromised for the road.
So, it's been styled like an adventure bike, but it's been designed as a tar touring bike. And what does it need to be able to do that job well? It needs comfort. It's got that in spades. It needs a great engine. It's a Kawasaki. It's really a belter of a four-cylinder engine. And it needs to be practical and versatile. It is all of those things. So, tar tourer, yes. Buy it with utter confidence. Looks a bit unusual, but does the job excellently.